Hi everybody, it's Richard McMunn here from the interview training company howtobecome.com, and in this fantastic training video I'm going to teach you how to pass your team leader interview, and specifically I'm going to give you 7 interview questions and sample answers to help you pass. Okay, so before we get into the questions and answers, welcome to this tutorial. That's me on the right hand side. As I say, my name's Richard McMunn. I've been helping people like you for about 20 years now to successfully pass their interviews. And in this particular video, we are going to focus on how to pass the team leader interview. So if you have any kind of team leader interview coming up, whether it's a supervisory interview or a management interview, I promise you this tutorial is really going to help you. I am also going to tell you at some stage during the video where you can download these slides. So even though I encourage you to take notes, I'm actually going to give you these slides with the sample answers. My advice is to subscribe to the channel. Just click the red button below this video, so then you'll get notified as soon as I create videos, and I'm doing these on a weekly basis now. Also, if you enjoy the content and the free slides and the sample answers, please do give the video a thumbs up, because that always motivates me to do more training videos for you. Okay, let's get started. Quickly, before we do go into them, if you want to tell me the name of your team leader interview, in the comments section below the video, I will give you 5 sample interview questions to prepare for. So, for example, if you have an admin team leader interview coming up, tell me that's what you've got coming up, and I will give you 5 sample responses. If you've got a team leader interview because you're working in a warehouse or a supermarket, whatever it is, tell me what the interview is, and I will give you 5 specific questions to prepare for. Okay, let's now take a look at the top 7 team leader interview questions and answers that I think you should prepare for. Okay, question number 1. Tell me about yourself and why you are suited to the role of a team leader. So there's essentially 2 questions in one here. So here's some tips for answering this question before I give you a sample response. Tip number 1, make sure you split your answer up into 2 parts. So the first is to give information about you, and then also in the second part, explain why you are suited to the role of a team leader. Tip number 2, make sure you look at the job description for the team leader role you're applying for and match your answer closely to it. Now, this is really easy to do, and I'm going to give you an example in a second. And then tip number 3, my advice is to always be a firm but fair team leader. Okay, so you don't want to go in with a totally autocratic leadership style, but you have to set a high standard, but you also have to be fair to your employees, to your staff, and you have to motivate them as well. And as we progress through this training video, I'm going to give you some really good tips on how to do that. So let's go and have a look at tip number 2, where it says look at the job description and match your answer closely to it. This is just a generic sample team leader job description, and it says you have to manage and lead a team of employees, you have to communicate company goals and deadlines to the team, you have to motivate team members and then assess performance, and you also have to keep management updated on team performance. So I would look at the job description, and my response to this question would include, I am someone who very much enjoys leading people through effective motivation and management techniques. I am a competent communicator who is able to clearly relay company goals to a team whilst focusing intently on deadlines set by management. So if you look there at the highlighted green words that I've used in that response, they simply match the job description. So don't forget, at some point during this tutorial, you're going to be able to download this and you can use that as part of your response to the question. But here is my entire response to team leader question number 1, which is tell me about yourself and why you are suited to the role of a team leader. I am a hard-working, professional and conscientious person who enjoys the challenge of both leading and managing people, and also seeing projects and tasks through to successful completion. I pride myself on a strong work ethic and an ability to motivate a team in order to get the best out of them. I believe I am suited to the role of team leader, firstly, because I have the skills, qualities and attributes to match the job description, and secondly, because I am someone who simply has a keen desire to lead and manage people. I feel more comfortable when I am managing and leading people and get a great sense of job satisfaction from completing projects through to the end for my employer to a high standard. That's a great response to that question. And like I say, you'll be able to download it very soon and use it during your preparation. Let's now move on to question number 2 of the team leader interview, and that's, what are the qualities of a successful team leader? So this question is designed to see whether you understand what qualities are needed to be a really good leader. So here's a tip, just one tip for this one to answer the question correctly. Make sure you use power words and phrases in your response that focus on your ability to communicate effectively, support your team, see projects and tasks through to completion, understand your team's strengths and also their weaknesses, be a positive role model, and also work towards the organisation's goals. And I'm going to give you a sample response in a second, but those are the key elements that I think you should focus on in your response to get the highest scores possible. Okay, here's my sample response using that particular model. So what are the qualities of a successful team leader? Here's my response for you. There are numerous qualities that a team leader must possess if they are to be successful in the role. These include being a great communicator. If you cannot communicate effectively and support your team, you will not see projects through to the end. You must also have a thorough understanding of your team's strengths and weaknesses and then adapt your plan based on their qualities. A team leader must be resolute in their actions, be confident in their own and their team's abilities, and also be determined to see projects through to the end. Finally, a team leader must be committed to delivering positive results for his or her employer and act as a positive role model for the organisation they are working for. Again, that is a really strong response. And if you use that during that interview question, I can pretty much guarantee you'll get the highest scores possible. Let's move on to question number 3. So, team leader question number 3, how would you motivate your team? This is a tough question, and it's one which I can pretty much guarantee, again, you'll get asked during your team leader interview. How would you motivate your team? Here's some tips for answering the question positively. Tip number 1, all successful leaders know their team members' strengths and weaknesses. So if you're going to motivate a team, you have to know what they're good at, but also know what they're not good at too. Tip number 2, communication is vital to motivating your team. You have to communicate with them on a regular basis. Tip number 3, always be clear when communicating with your team. If a team knows what's expected of them and you encourage and praise them as a team leader, they will literally do anything for you. So you have to be a good motivator. Here's my sample response to the team leader interview question, how would you motivate your team? There are 2 key elements I would use to motivate my team. These are communication and clarity. I would motivate my team by communicating with them in 3 ways. Firstly, by talking to each team member to find out what they are good at and what their strengths are. Secondly, I would communicate the organisation's goals regularly to ensure each team member was clear on the plan of action we had in place. And thirdly, I would be a supportive team leader who would encourage the team regularly during the task being undertaken and also praise them when appropriate. With regards to clarity, I feel a team is far more likely to succeed and be self-motivated if they understand clearly what the plan is. I would always brief the team as to what is expected from them. If a team understands what is required and they are praised when they work well, they will stay motivated. Now that is a solid answer to the question, how would you motivate your team? Don't forget, like I say, you're going to get the slides soon to download these and you can use them during your preparation. Just a reminder, if you are enjoying these, I'd love it if you gave the video a thumbs up because that will motivate me to do some more for you. Question number 4 of the team leader interview. What type of leader are you? Now, obviously, only you will know what kind of leader you are, but this would be my response to it. First of all, a few tips for answering this question. Tip number 1, to be an effective leader, you have to set the standards expected of your team. So whenever I used to go into an organisation and work as a team leader, I did it for many years, I would always set the standards high because it's very difficult to raise the standards once you've set a low standard. But you can always bring them back down slightly, and it's one thing I learned from the get-go was to set high standards from the start. Tip number 2, being firm but fair is a great way to lead. Tip number 3, showing empathy as a leader when required is vital. You have to show empathy at times as a leader. So using all of that information, here's my sample response for you to use. I believe I am hardworking, professional and determined leader who takes great pride in their work. I am a leader who is able to get the most out of their team by implementing supportive and motivational strategies in parallel. Whilst I am very much a firm leader who expects nothing but high standards from his team, I also have empathy and can react to a team member's change in performance if it occurs. As a team leader, I feel it is important to understand your team and what motivates them individually. Whenever leading a new team, I would always carry out initial staff appraisals to get to know my team and to also lay down the expectations I have of each team member. To summarise, I am a leader who is firm, fair and highly focused on my employer's goals and their overall mission. Okay, another great response. Question number 5. How would you solve a dispute or disagreement between two team members under your control? This is a tough question, but a great one to be prepared for. Here's some tips for answering this question to get the highest marks possible. Tip number 1, always look to resolve problems and disputes quickly. You need to get them resolved as soon as possible. If you don't, then it impacts negatively on the team. Show the interview panel that you have got the confidence and expertise to resolve disputes quickly. Tip number 3, when resolving issues between team members, always get those involved to agree to the resolution that you put forward. So both parties have to be in agreement with your suggestion. Here's the answer to the interview question: how would you solve a dispute or disagreement between two team members under your control? First of all, I think it's important to get to the bottom of a dispute quickly. If you let a dispute or disagreement fester or try and allow it to rectify itself naturally, you run the risk of it becoming a serious problem whereby it can affect the rest of the team. If there is a dispute or disagreement, I will first of all gather some facts to find out what the problem actually is. I will speak to each person involved individually to get clarity on the situation. Then I will decide what my plan of action is to resolve the situation amicably and quickly. This would normally involve sitting down with both parties to discuss the situation in a calm manner with a view to resolving the issue. I would then, at the end of the meeting, get both team members to agree on the resolution and put it behind them for the benefit of the team. Great answer. Question number 6. Describe a project where you led a team to success. Now, tips for answering this team leader interview question. Make sure you give a specific example when answering this question. Don't tell the interview panel what you would do to lead a team to success, but tell them what you've done before. Tip number 2, try and include an external pressure that makes the project more difficult. This might be a time element or where something's gone wrong and you have to act really quickly. Tip number 3, show that you were able to motivate your team to complete the project successfully. Let's take a look at my sample answer to this interview question. There have been many occasions where I have led a team to success. However, perhaps the most recent and most notable was whereby my team had to complete a task for my company under difficult and challenging circumstances. Our company IT system went down unexpectedly and it quickly became apparent that it needed to be replaced and quickly. Each day the system was down, the organisation was losing significant sums of money. I created a plan of action before sitting down with my team to explain the brief and what I wanted each person to do. It was particularly difficult because the work we were required to carry out had to be completed over a weekend. I needed to motivate my team to come in over the weekend when they were not expected to work. Now, after I briefed the team successfully, they all understood the importance of the task and agreed to come in over the weekend period. Now, over the weekend, we worked tirelessly to replace the entire system as quickly and accurately as possible. Once the system had been replaced, we then spent time checking everything was working correctly to make sure the business could operate as normal. We also put measures in place to make sure the system failure would not happen again. Once Monday morning came around, the task was complete and the business was able to function again without hindrance. I feel this was a successful project because I was able to motivate the team successfully whilst also providing clarity on the work I wanted to be carried out and by what time frame. So that is a real specific response where I was in a situation and I took the team from point A to point B to solve the problem quickly whilst under pressure. Question number 7. You're going to get these slides very soon. Have you ever failed as a leader? Really difficult question to answer. So here's some tips, first of all, for answering this to get the highest marks possible. Tip number 1, give an example where you have actually failed. Don't say, well, I've never failed as a leader. Okay, they're not looking for that. They want to see a level of maturity in your failure. What I mean by that is that you tell the interview panel what you've learned from that experience, because that's really important. Tip number 3, tell the interview panel how you have matured as a leader from the experience where you failed. So here's a sample response to the team leader interview question, have you ever failed as a leader? Here we go. Yes, I have. In the early days of being a leader, I remember leading a team by using an entirely autocratic approach. I was basically dictating what I expected of the team and what I wanted them to do. Now, this was a mistake, simply because I failed to get to know my team and also what motivated them as individuals. I soon realised that my approach to leadership would fail, and so I decided to change quickly. I believe that initial experience of leading people stood me in good stead and has made me the leader I am today. I continually analyse my performance to look for ways I can improve. I feel this is an important quality of an effective leader, and being reflective of one's own performance is a key ingredient of being successful as a team leader. Another great response. Okay, so where do you get these slides from? Couple of things before you switch off. If you click the link below this video, it will take you through to a page where you can download these exact slides and start using them during your preparation. Now, if you want more free training to help you pass your team leader interview or whatever interview it is, please go to the website passmyinterview.com, or if you look further in the description below the video, the link is in there and you can get 30 days free interview training. There's about 54 training modules on there that I've personally created, and I promise you, if you follow them, your chances of passing your interview will significantly increase. Now, there's also a link in there to my LinkedIn profile. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please feel free to do so. Like I say, I'd very much appreciate if you subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up, because that motivates me to do more free training videos for you guys. Don't forget to put what interview you've got coming up in the comments section below, and I'll give you 5 questions to prepare for. Thank you for watching, and I genuinely wish you all the very best in your pursuit to passing your team leader interview.